Once upon a time, there was a little dog whose name was Rover. And Rover loved going for walks with a little boy whose name was Johnny. Every day, Johnny would take Rover for a walk in the morning and a walk in the afternoon. Johnny loved to throw sticks for Rover, and Rover loved to run after the sticks, grab them in his mouth and come running back to Johnny and drop them at Johnny's feet. Rover also liked chasing tennis balls. In fact, tennis balls were even more fun because when they touched the ground, they'd bounce and keep going, unlike sticks which would generally stop when they hit the ground. Rover loved tennis balls because he could jump in the air and try and catch them, and it was even... That's it, the ball would bounce and Rover would leap up into the air and catch it as high as he could in his mouth, and then come running back to Johnny with the ball in his mouth and drop it at Johnny's feet so Johnny could throw it again. Well, Rover loved that game. He loved playing it so much that he wanted to play it every time he went out with Johnny. Sometimes Johnny would take Rover to a large pond in the forest near where they lived. And the one thing Rover liked was jumping in the water. So Johnny would take the ball and throw it splash into the middle of the lake or the pond, and Rover would leap in and paddle over to the ball, grab it in his mouth, and then paddle back to the shore with the ball in his mouth. And when he got out, he'd shake himself like that, and water would fly everywhere. Johnny always ran out of his way as far away from Rover as he could when Rover was going to shake himself, because he knew that if he was anywhere near, he'd get covered in drops of water. But Rover loved it, and he'd run around the forest and really, really enjoyed chasing the stick and chasing the ball. Sometimes Rover was very lucky.
Why?
And he'd see a rabbit in the distance. Now, although Rover couldn't catch rabbits because they can run faster than him, and they usually got burrows they can go into, when Rover saw a rabbit, he would go woof, 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 and charge towards the rabbit. Obviously, his instincts from when dogs were hunters was that chase rabbits, you catch them and then you eat them. But he was never going to catch the rabbit. So he loved chasing the rabbit, and the rabbit would go very fast, then straight down a hole, and that would be the end of it. And the dog couldn't dig down the hole to get it. Sometimes he'd scrabble at the edge of the hole trying to get in, but the rabbit was always far too deep for the dog to get there. One day, in the distance, Rover saw a cow which had escaped in the farmer's field. Well, Rover didn't know that it was a cow. He thought it was a rabbit.
Where's the master?
What, you mean the farmer? The farmer must have...
The master of the dog.
Oh, Johnny was with Rover all the time. Everywhere that Johnny went, Rover would follow. Rover was almost like his shadow. He'd go where Johnny went. So one day Rover saw in the distance a cow walking around the forest. Rover thought it must be another rabbit because it was so far away it looked quite small. So Rover started going woof, woof, woof and running as fast as he could, charging towards the cow. But as he got closer, the cow seemed to get bigger and bigger and bigger until he realized that the cow was 10 times, 20 times, maybe 30 times his size. And as he nearly reached the cow's feet, he put his paws out and skidded through the mud and just stopped before he got to the cow's feet. Of course, the cow hardly moved. Cows don't move much. They're very slow, sedentary creatures. Then the dog...
But creatures are little.
No creatures can be large or small. All creatures great and small. So, you talk about critters maybe are small, but no, all creatures can be any size, from elephants through to ants.
How about middle size?
Yep, like you're middle size, or a dog's middle size.
No, I'm little.
Okay, middle size like Daddy.
And Mummy's middle, and Mummy is middle size.
Yeah, she's a bit smaller than me and a bit bigger than you. Anyway, as the dog skidded to a halt at the cow's feet, he looked up at this giant cow above him, and was so scared he turned round and ran racing back to his master and hid behind his master, Johnny. Johnny patted him and said, "Don't be frightened, it's only a cow. But the cow's not going to run away from you, it's not a rabbit." Anyway, then they went deep into the forest and Johnny found a little clearing and he thought, "I'll make that into my den." So he started to build a wall around the clearing. It's like a little area inside some bushes. So he started to build a wall around it, and soon he'd built his own little hiding place in the middle of the forest.
But how did you do that?
With sticks, long sticks, he broke off branches. He broke the sticks from trees and started to build a door at the entrance to his hiding place. It was like a little circle with a gap.
Daddy, can you just tell one of the same stories you told?
I'm sorry?
You pretend in the house, in the kingdom was a house, and then a house there was a witch with Hansel and Gretel.
Oh, you like the Hansel and Gretel's type story, do you? Okay, so the little boy, then in the middle of the forest, he came across a house made of, guess what?
Gingerbread,
It was.
lollipops, and macarons, cakes, sugar, sugar ice.
Icing, and of course the little boy had a sweet tooth and he was quite hungry, so he broke a bit of the house off and started to nibble it.
There were jelly babies.
Yes, and all around the house were jelly babies, so he picked up some of it and started to eat them. Just then he heard a little old squeaky voice. It went like this: "And what do you think you're doing, young man?" He turned round, and there was a very old, ugly lady.
No, he didn't see him.
He was very frightened.
I wanted one of the same stories you told.
You don't want the witch to see Johnny?
He was there. He was there looking at. He was there going to eat Hansel in the home.
So, you want me to tell you Hansel and Gretel?
Yes. He was going to eat one of the children.
The witch was going to eat the children, yes.
One of the children.
So Johnny, who was with his friend, called Gretel, was taken inside the house by the witch.
No!
I thought you said you wanted them to be eaten.
One of the children be eaten in the house. Hansel and Gretel.
You want me to tell you Hansel and Gretel now?
Yes.
So Hansel and Gretel found a house in the forest.
No, there's a dog and Johnny.
Okay, I thought it was Hansel and Gretel. Okay.
No, can you just tell a story what the story what I want?
Of course, but I don't know what you want. I thought you said you wanted Hansel and Gretel, so I start telling Hansel and Gretel. Then you say you want Johnny and the dog. I don't know which story you really want.
I will tell you my bit I want.
Okay, I'm listening.
I want the story about the witch then saw little boy and Johnny.
So the witch saw Johnny and the dog.
No!
What then?
The witch had Hansel and Gretel.
So the witch had Hansel and Gretel.
Then the winter told his daddy there was a witch in the forest. Then the daddy called the police. Then the police came and then took him to prison. That bit I want.
Okay. So,
That is the end of the story now.
luckily, Daddy arrived just in time, and when he saw the witch, he called the police. They came and arrested her and took her away, and Daddy and the little boy Johnny went home arm in arm with their dog called Rover. And that's the end of the story.
Okay.
Is that the end you wanted?
Yes.
Oh, well, I didn't know. And when Rover got home, he had a nice bone to chew on. Yummy, yummy.
But no to suck on.
Well, chew, suck. I think dogs really chew bones rather than suck them.
But they also can suck them because it has some juice on it.
Well, I guess no. I don't think dogs will have time to suck. They chew, gulp, hair. They go very fast. They don't want to waste time enjoying the flavour. They want to eat it as fast as they possibly can before the other dogs eat it. So yeah, they go. I don't think they'd suck the bone. Maybe you would, but not a dog. Good night then. Good night then. What do we say?
Good night.
And have you said your prayers?
I don't want to tell it.
Say your prayers. Put your arms together and say your prayers.
No, wait. I would have to tell me the story again.
No, it's not that story time now. It's bedtime.
Daddy, can you tell me another story about a dog?
Well, I'm kind of tired now, but I can just tell you a little bit about dogs. Dogs are very faithful. They'll follow you. If you have a dog, he'll follow you everywhere you are, everywhere you go, and he'll wag his tail when you're with him, and he'll lick your hands.
Why follow you?
Because dogs trust you, and they know you're going to give him food, and because you give him food, you're like his daddy. Little boys can be like daddies to dogs.
Why?
Because the dogs get their food from the little boy, and the little boy takes them for walks, and the little boy plays with them, the little boy pats them, the little boy throws sticks for them, the little boy throws balls for them, the little boy runs around the garden with them chasing him, the little boy has fun with the dog, the little boy lets the dog go in the water and splash, the little boy takes the dog to the seaside and goes in the sea. So much fun. That's why. Any questions?
No. Yes, the last an Asian. Daddy, why did the soul a house?
What's the question?
What is this? Daddy,
Yes.
why the house was made of sweets?
Exactly, it's a really good question. I don't really know why the house in the middle of the forest belonging to the witch is made of chocolate and candy and gingerbread and lovely things to eat. It might be because the witch has made it like that to tempt little children. So when the little children go in her house, she can eat them, maybe. Because if the house is just made of bricks, the children say, there's another house, nothing to eat, let's keep moving. But if you see a house made of gingerbread, well, it's very tempting to little children. And the first thing you're going to do is stop and say, I'll break a bit off and taste it. And the more you taste, the more you want to stay. And the longer you stay, the easier it is for the witch to catch you. I think that's why it's made of sweets and candy and chocolate and gingerbread.
And maybe if you see a house made of sweets, maybe it must be a witch's house. Because people's house is made of bricks or I don't know, some more.
Or stones. Or straw.
Straw. Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure. Only pigs make the house of sticks or straw, don't they? The three little pigs.
Also brick. Also stones.
Or bricks, yes. Anyway, so no, most people don't make their house of gingerbread, but I think the witch does it because it's a sort of bait bait is what you use to catch something. So if you're going to catch a fish, you'll take a worm as bait or a grub as bait.
Maybe.
If you want to catch a mouse in a mouse trap, you'll use some cheese in the mouse trap as bait. And if you want to catch little children, you have a house made of gingerbread as your bait.
Why?
Because it attracts little boys and girls who like gingerbread. That's why.
But if I go to the forest and I see a house made of sweets, I would never eat it because there might be a witch in it.
That's right. Very wise. I wouldn't eat it either.
So I won't.
In fact, I'd run a mile. Well, good night now.